Emmanuel, please remember to click on record, please.
Oh, okay, okay.
I already started that.
Okay. So today, what we are going to be looking at is groups in Entra ID. Yesterday, we talked about creating user creation, both bulk user creation and creating users in just like creating single users one by one. So today now we are going to go look at groups in Microsoft Entra ID. We are going to look at the types of groups. We are going to look at roles in Entra ID. We are going to be looking at administrative units. We are going to see how we can use administrative units to delegate permissions to specific administrators. Then I'm going to explain the use case of administrative unit and how it works. We are going to still look at role assignments. I'm going to explain what role assignments is and how it is being used. Then we are going to look at how we can manage custom domain. So first of all, let's go. So today now we'll be looking at Microsoft Entra Group. So a group is simply a collection of security principles. So security principles now is more or less security principles can be a user, can also be a group itself. So that's what a group is. So a collection of users and security principles, because you can create a group and add a group, to an existing group. So meaning that a group can be inside a group. So that's why a group is a collection of security principles. So that was how I was explaining what security principle is, which could be a user or a group. So let's look at the two types of groups we have. So we have synced AD groups and cloud groups. So for the sync AD group, is you can use it to grant access to Azure resources. You can use it to manage group membership in AD, and you can also use it to grant license to group members. So this one is more or less like, instead of you to be assigning license one after the other to members, to people. So you can just create a group, then assign the license to the group. So every member of that group inherit the license that you have assigned to that group, so long as the license is enough to accommodate the members of the group. While for cloud group, you can add or remove members in Azure. Then you can create dynamic group membership, which we are going to look at how to create these groups. So let's just pop into the demo so that we are going to see how to create group and how it works. So let me just share the other screen. Okay. So let me just increase the size of the screen so everybody will see it very clearly. So let me make it big. Okay, let me reduce it. Okay, good. So here now, this is Entra ID Admin Center. So but I would like to go back to how I got to this Entra ID Admin Center so that for those that could not join us yesterday, so it will be easy for us to also navigate to it once we have our test environment. So let me just start from this. Let me open a tab here. And so could just go to office.com, then hit enter. So I'm already signed in. So that's why I have this particular page opening automatically. And because I'm an admin, I'm also having the admin icon here. So if you are signed into your tenant, or maybe your company, normally they will create an account for you. So if you log into office.com, you won't see admin because you don't have an admin role, which I'm going to explain in the class so that we are going to see what these roles can do and how we can apply those roles. So you just click on admin. So it takes you first to Microsoft 365 Admin Center. But today, we are not actually looking at Microsoft 365 Admin Center. We are focusing on identity, which is Microsoft Entra ID. So we could just click on identity here. Then it will ask me to sign in. So I'm using this account to sign in. So it will just pop up. So now I'm in my admin center. So this is the overview page of my admin center. So the name of the organization is actually Precise Online Market. I have the name here. I have the tenant ID. Then I have a custom domain name, which is preciseglobal.com.ng. I have 26 groups. I have 37 users. I have 5 devices, then 5 applications. So this overview page now is just telling us giving us an overview of what our tenant looks like. So if it's a big production environment now, we could have more than 1,000 users, depending. So you see everything here. You will see the tenant ID, you see the primary domain name, and you see if you have license that covers for Microsoft Entra ID, such as Microsoft Entra ID Premium license. So it will help you to manage more features in Identity Admin Center, which we are going to be looking at. So there are still other things we could see. So I'm logged in. I'm the global administrator of the tenant. So you could see other features here. So let's just go to group creation. So I just want to show us what the overview page looked like of Microsoft Entra ID. So let me just reduce the size. Okay. So now we have different sections here. So the first section here is identity. The second section here is protection. The third section here is identity governance. Then verified ID, permissions. So we are going to look at identity, protection, and identity governance. So first of all now, let's start with identity. So if I collapse identity now, I'm going to see users, I'm going to see groups, I'm going to see devices, I'm going to see applications, I'm going to see identity governance as well. So from here now, what we see here is users, then we have groups. So yesterday, we talked about user creation. So let me just do a recap of how we created a single user yesterday. So from here now, if you want to create a single user, now let's say you have your own tenant and you want to create a user. So you could just click on new user from the Entra ID plate. So it's either you are creating a new user for internal use in your organization, just as it is here on the page, or you are inviting an external user to collaborate with your organization. Probably, maybe you guys are working on a project together and you want the users to access company resources. So you could just invite the user so that the user can collaborate with members of your organization. So let's just create a new user. So we could just see new user creation. So we could give it a user principal name. So let me just say Adeleke. Adeleke. Let me say Adeleke AB. Then the display name, I will just say Adeleke Abdul Mujib. So that will be the display name for the user. So let me just copy this because I may need to specify the first name and last name. So here now, it took me to the basic page. So for the basic page, I had to enter a user principal name for the user. So when the user wants to sign into any of the Office apps, the user can use this username to sign in, just like the way if you want to sign into your Gmail, you have your name at gmail.com. So this user principal name now is just like that. So when the user wants to log in, they can just use their user principal name and sign in to their organization so that they can access organizational resources. So this is the display name here now. So I click the checkbox to auto generate password. So let me just leave it that way. So I will now go next to properties. So now it's time for me to display to. So now the first name is Adeleke, while the last name is Abdulmajid. So let me just replace that here. So Abdulmajid. So the user type now, I'm making him a member because I don't want him to be a guest. I want him to be a member of the organization. So for job title now, I'm going to give him a manager. manager. Then company name, precise online market. So the department now, I'm going to say is in sales department, so that we are going to use this to actually configure a dynamic group. So let me just go next. So for city, let me say Lagos. Then for oh, let me use Lekki. Let me use Lekki. For streets, let me say number 2. You could define all these settings. Number 2, phase 1. Let me say street name. Okay, let me just leave the street name. Then for state, we could say Lagos. So other settings, depending on you, you could define them. Say Nigeria, which is the country. So if your organization has, maybe you give your users maybe lines that they can use to call clients, you can specify the business line here. So we could just specify a usage location. Let's say Nigeria. So we could just select Nigeria from the list. So we just, if I already have a group that I want this user now that I'm creating to be a member, I could just add the user to a group, but that's where we are going next. So I won't want us to look at all this, but I just want to do a recap of yesterday so that people that are just joining us today, so they could see how to create a user in Entra ID. So let me just review and create. Then create. So if I refresh this page now, I'm going to see that user. So Adeleke, okay, I have Adeleke Abdulmujib here. He's already a member of my organization automatically. So at least now he has an account with my organization. So let's go to the next aspect that we are looking at today, which is groups. So under users, if you click on all users, you will see all the users in your environment, just like this. So let me delete a user now so that we are going to see deleted. If I go to deleted users now, I don't think I have any deleted user here. But if I have any deleted user in my environment, the user is actually going to show here under deleted user. So if you are managing your users, basically under users, you have all users, deleted users, then user settings. So user settings now will give you some other privileges, like user can register application. So if you say yes, meaning that users in your environment, all users, they can register applications in your environment. Then if you say restrict non-admin users from creating tenants, what it means is that any user that is not an admin user, the person cannot create a tenant. This is okay to be no. It's better this way. User can create security group. If you make it yes, meaning that all users in your tenant can create security group. So how did we get here? From user settings. So from user settings, you could see all these settings here. Here now, guest user access restrictions. So we have 3 options here, which is guest user have the same access as members. So guest users have limited access to properties and membership of directory objects. This is better because if you give guest users the same access as members, they may go and they may overdo, and at the end of the day, the organization may not be okay with it. Then the last one is guest user access is restricted to properties and membership of their own directory object. So depending on the setting you want to configure. So all these are just basic settings that you could configure for users. So if we scroll down now, we can see administrative center. So this option now is restrict access to Microsoft Entra Admin Center. So what this does is that if you say yes now to it, it means that any member of your organization that goes to entra.microsoft.com, the person will be able to access your users, and the person will be able to get some info from there. So you could say restrict access to Microsoft Entra Admin Center. So if you restrict it, only administrators will have access to it. Or just only administrators will have access to it. So you could LinkedIn account connection, allow users to connect work or school account with LinkedIn. If you want users in your organization to be able to connect work or school account to LinkedIn, you can say yes. So these are just features. So if we want to manage external collaboration now, once we click on these settings, it takes us to where we could manage external collaboration. So under user settings, you could do a whole lot of things. You could see default user role permission, which is users can register applications. If you want to make changes to all this, you could as well do them. For guest user access, you could as well decide what guest users can do in your environment. For administrative center control, you could actually specify who should have access to admin center or not. So let's go to groups. So here now we have the next options, which is group. So if I click on the drop down for groups now, I have overview, then I have all groups, deleted groups, then group settings, just like the way we have all users, deleted users, and user settings. That is how we have for group also. All groups, deleted groups, and group settings. So this overview now is currently on preview. Let's click on it. Let's see what it looks like. So now, overview now, just like the way we saw the overview of my tenants, where I saw the total numbers of users, I saw the total numbers of groups. So now in my environment now, the total groups I have is 26. So out of these 26 groups, 9 of them is Microsoft 365 group. Why 12 of them is Microsoft 365 group, sorry. Why 9 of them is security groups. We have total of 2 dynamic groups. Then on-premise group I have is just 2. Then cloud groups I have is just 24, meaning that out of these 26 groups here, 24 of them are cloud groups, while only 2 were synced from on-prem to Microsoft Entra ID. So now, this is just the basic overview of the total groups I have in my organization. So if you have your own tenants, you may not have up to these numbers of group for now because you just opened your own. So me, in my own environment, I have these total numbers, and in some production sites, some production environment, you can see thousands of groups. This one is even small. Like if you log into if you are privileged to log into some organizations admin center, you see that they have thousands of groups. So basically, we are going to look at those groups and we're going to see what they are used for. So let me click on all groups. So we'll see all groups that we have. So from all groups now, we have all company groups. So by default now, when you create a tenant, you have all company groups that automatically add all members of the organization to the group. Let's confirm. Let's click on all company groups. Let's see if all members of my organizations are there. So maybe I created this one. Let me go back and select the other one. So let me see one owner. Let me come to members. Okay, no members. Let's say all members. Okay. So let's go ahead and create a group. Let's create a group. So let me go down. Let me look for that default group that comes with. So let me open this precise market now. Let's see. So this precise market now is actually the group I was talking about, that once you create a tenant, it automatically add all members of your organization. So I just created Adeleke Abdulmojid. So if I click on all users here, let me search for Adeleke. So it's already here. I didn't add Adeleke to this group, but Adeleke is automatically added to this group, which is the latest user I just created. So let me go back so we could create a group. So we'll see how to create a group. On the group setting here, we have new group, we have download group, then we have refresh. So this page now is generally where you see the total groups you have in your organization. So one of the things that maybe when you are running some scripts, you could make use of the object ID. But here now, we have object ID, we have the group type, Microsoft 365 security group. Then we have membership type. This membership type now, we are going to explain it. I'm going to create a group that the membership type is assigned, and I'm going to create a group that the membership type is dynamic. So let's go. So you could also give your group an email address so that once an email is sent to that group, if it's a Microsoft 365 group, all the members of that group automatically receives the email. And also, if you also create a mail-enabled security group, same applies. So all members of that group receives it. So the source now of this group, from the overview of my groups, I only have 2 on-prem group. So this group now that the source is Windows Server AD is an on-prem group. So what's the name of the group? Let's see. M365 test. That's the name of the group that was synced from on-prem to Office 365. So let's create a new group by clicking on new group. So once we click on new group, we see the first options, which is group type. So this group type now, we have 2 options if you are creating a group from Microsoft Entra Admin Center. So one of the options is security and Microsoft 365 group. Security group option is used maybe in a situation where you want to delegate permission to specific people in an organization. So Joseph talked about it in his class when he was explaining identity. So let's take, for instance, now you want to assign a role to a group of people in an organization, and you are giving each of them that role individually. It will get to a point where you won't be able to track total numbers of people that you have given that role to. But if you create a security group and you assign that role to a security group, you can easily track members that have a particular role in your organization. So in case of maybe when somebody is leaving the organization, all you just need to do is to just go to the groups you have for administrators and remove the person from there. So all the rights the person have will go. That's one advantage of security group. You can use it for permissions. You can use it for like maybe you want to delegate access to a resource. So now let's give this group a name. Let's see, the name of this group will be M365 Mentorship Group. So that's the name of the group. So group description. To me, I like giving descriptions to anything I'm creating, because if you give descriptions, let's say peradventure you are not there, the next person will understand the essence of that group. Let me just say this group was created for mentorship purpose. That's the essence why this group was created. So even if I'm not in that organization again and another admin is employed, once the person see this description, the person will know that this group is actually meant for mentorship purpose and not for any other purpose. So here now we have Microsoft Entra role can be assigned to the group. So if you click on yes, when we get to the area where we'll talk about privilege identity management, we are going to see how we can assign a role to this group. But if you say no, that means you can assign a role to this group. So let me click on yes, because if I say no now, later I won't be able to edit this particular setting. So there are some settings here that you can edit, but this particular one, manage Entra roles, after creating the group, you can't edit it. You have to, it's either you delete and you create another one. That's why if we are doing all this creation, we need to take note of things that we can modify and things we cannot modify, so that if maybe your CTO can come now and say, okay, this group you created, I want you to assign a role to it. And you will not like, but I created it. I said no to Microsoft Entra roles can be assigned to it. So in that way, the only thing you have to do is to maybe delete the group, or if it's very important, maybe you can raise a support with Microsoft. Maybe they could do something for you from the back end. So now if we go down, we have other settings such as owner, members, and roles. So if I say no now to this, roles disappear from here. Rows disappear. That means you won't even see any option of row. So let me just click on yes. So here now, owner. Let me choose an owner, the person that is going to be the owner. So I'm giving the owner of this group to Adeleke Abdulmajib. So let me select the person. So for members now, I want to just add like maybe one member, then I'll show us how we could add members after creating the group. So I'll just select. So once I select, let me add a role to this group. Let me just give it a very minute role. Let me just say application administrators, but we're going to talk about role. But I just want us to look at creating of groups. Then after creating of groups, we'll now go deeper into talking about roles. So we just say create. So let's say creating a group to which Microsoft Entra roles can be assigned is a setting that cannot be changed later. Like I made mention earlier that if you if you say yes to this particular Microsoft Entra roles can be assigned to a group, you can't make changes to it after creating the group. And if you say no also, you can't make changes to it after creating the group. So let me just say create. So we already know that that's what we want to do. So let's say yes. So let's wait while the group creates. So now the group is created successfully. So all I just need to do is to come down and refresh, because sometimes you may need to refresh after creating a group to see the group. So let me just come down. Oh, it's already here. Microsoft 365 mentorship group. So let me select it. So once I select the group now, I have where I can manage the group. So one thing with Entra Admin Center, if you go to Entra Admin Center, at least Microsoft did it in such a way that it is easy for us to understand if we want to do any setting to the group. So here now we have properties. If I click on properties now, it will give me the properties of the group. I can change the group name. I can change the group description, but I can't change the group type and I can't change the membership type. So those are the things that we need to take note of. They are all these things, you can't change them. You can only change the name of the group and the description of the group. So should in case maybe this group now, maybe the mentorship program end, maybe for instance, I say M365 mentorship 2020, let's say 2024, and maybe 2025, want to do another mentorship section again, and I want to use this same group, I can just come to the group name and change it to 2025, 2025. So automatically, you can change the name of the group and still use it. You can change the description also, but you can't change the group type and you can't change the membership. You can't change the membership type. So let's go, let's close let's come to members now. So for members, I only have one member, which is this person. So let me click on, if you want to add additional members now, so all you need to do is to click on add a member. So once you click on add a member, automatically you get to add additional members to the group. So let me click on add a member. Let's see. So it automatically shows all the users in my organization once you're at all. So if we come to users now, you will now see just users. So if you click on group now, like when I was defining a group, I say a group comprises of security principals. So security principal could be a user or a group. But from here now, we could see that there are a lot of things that could be security principals. We have enterprise application. So enterprise application is also a security principal. So we have a lot of things, but a group now comprises of security principals. So for users now, if we click on users now, we could add more users to this group. So let me add Albert Benson, let me add Ganacho, let me add Amina Suleiman, then let me add Ashake. So let me just say select. So automatically, if I refresh this page now, it will show that all these members, Albert Benson, Alejandro, AG, and Amina Suleiman, they are all members of this particular group. So let's click on owner now. So for the owner aspect of things, when I was creating the group, I made Adeleke Abdulmajid the owner of the group. So now I can add another owner. Let's say for instance now, this department, this particular mentorship group expand and one person is not enough to manage that group. You could add another owner here. So we could just say maybe we want to make Akim an owner of the group. We just say select. Then once we refresh this page, we automatically have, let's refresh again. Sometimes it may take a while for it to show up. So now we have Akim here now as an owner of the group. So if we go back to members, Akim is also a member. Okay, he's not a member here. Let me add him as, let me just leave him, but I wanted to add somebody that is also a member. Let me see if someone can be a member of a group and also an owner. So let's make Albert Benson and part of the owners. So let's add Albert Benson. So select. So you could add someone could be a member and also an owner. So I just want us to get that you could have somebody here that is an owner and also a member of the group. So if we click on rules and administrators now, we'll see that there's no rules assigned to this group because we didn't specify it when we didn't specify any rule assigned to it, but we are going to do all that. So let's just go back to creating a group again because we have created a security group, an assigned security group. So I want us to create another security group that is going to be a dynamic, the assigned type will be dynamic. So let's see how it works in a real life scenario. So all I just need to do is to come to a new group again. Then from new group, I'm going to still create a security group. So the name of this group now, let me say it should be, which name am I going to? Can somebody just suggest a name on the chat that we are going to give the group so that we could just do it? Could just create it. Could somebody just drop a name? The first name on the chat is going to be the name I'm going to give the group. Ah, Wilson, you want me to give the group your name? No. Okay. Let me just give it IT group. But I think I have something like IT group, please. Okay, editorial group. I go for editorial group. Editorial group. So editorial group is fine. So thank you. I appreciate you. At least thank God I have audience that are following. Oh, someone say mentorship dynamic group. That name captures my eye. So what I will do is I'll just say editorial dynamic group. Let me add dynamic to it so that it will give it another name. Okay, editorial dynamic group. So that's the name of this group. Editorial dynamic group. So the group description now will be for let's say, let me say for the editorial team. For the editorial team. Okay, let me correct this. For the editorial team. So now this one, I don't want the group to have Microsoft Entra rules assigned to it because editorial people, they don't need rules assigned to them. So let me change the assignment type to be dynamic user. So let me add an owner to the group. So the owner this time is going to be, let me make Ejima Obunneme the owner of this group this time. Select. So now, for dynamic user now, we could see that when we created assign membership group, we were able to add members manually, whereby we selected one user. But here now, we can't select a user. The only thing we can do is to specify a query. So with that query, we can now use it to automatically add members to the group. So let me add a dynamic query. So now this is, let's even go through it from here. You can use the rule builder or rule syntax text box to create or edit dynamic membership rule. So we could see from the options here now, we could choose a property, but the property I want us to use, we could use any of this. We could use any of this. So if I select country now, we're going to have a lot of members in this group because most of the users I have, they have license, and for you to assign a license to a user, you need to select a location. So most of the location I have is country. So I don't want to use country. I want us to use, let's use department. Let's use department. So operation now will be equals. You could use any of this. You could use any of the operators. So if we come to property, let me explain how this thing work. Let's say, for instance, now you want to create a group and you don't want to stress yourself by automatically adding members to that group on your own. All you just need to do is to create a query. So the way this query works is in a structured environment, in a structured organization, that all the users have the required settings on their properties. So all you just need to do is maybe, for instance, now like you have 200 people, users that are in sales, and you want to add those 200 users to a group. All you just need to do is to select departments. So once you select departments, you can come to the operators now and say use either department equals or contains. But most times, the one we use is equals most times when we are creating our rules. If we say department equals, we'll now specify the value. Let me say sales. So why I'm picking sales was because when we created Adeleke Abdulmujib, his department, I specified sales to be his department. So you could add additional query. Let me add another expression. So if we're adding another expression now we already have department here. Let me select city again. Let me say city equals, let's say Lekki. So I have the first rule here, which is if the property contains department, operator equals sales. So if I save this rule now and click on create, let's see if automatically members will be added to that group. So let me refresh this page. Let me refresh. So let's look for, okay, we already have editorial dynamic group here. Let me click on it. Let's see if we have any members. So no member is here now. So for us to have a member here, we need to go and check. Okay, we have Adeleke Abdul Majib. Why is he a member here? Let's confirm why he's a member. So let me open Adeleke here. So if we come to the properties of Adeleke, we are going to see his department. So Adeleke department is sales. That is why automatically Adeleke was added to that group. Imagine now I have 1,000 people that are in sales department. All of them will be added to that group. That's one of the advantage of dynamic group. If you want to add all members of the organization, you could use any parameters that all members of the organization have. So let's go to I want to add sales department to another user. Let me see if that user will automatically get added to that editorial team. So let me go to my users. Let me edit a user. So let me pick a user. Who am I going to pick now? Let me pick Ifeoluwa Akinfemiwa. Okay. So let me just change his department. So if, for instance, now maybe you are in an organization and you want to edit a user properties. Maybe the person was in marketing department, then the person is moving to sales department. Once you open the user console and you click on edit properties, you see the options of things you could edit. So for the identity now, you could change the name. If you want to change the display name, you could change it. If you want to change the last name and all, you could change it. Then if you want to change the user type, you could also change it. But here now, I want us to edit the job information. So this guy doesn't have a department. Let me put him in sales. Sales. Let me edit it. Sales. So let me save it. So I've saved it now. So let me go back to editorial group. Let me see if this guy, this Ife, is going to be in that group. So let me come back to editorial group members. So if I refresh again, sometimes it might take a while, but it's going to show up. So let me come back to properties. Let me go back to members. So let's confirm again if the name will specify was correct. If fair. So now let me see the department again. Sometimes it might take a while, but definitely it's going to show up. So job information, sales, okay, sales. So it's fine. So let me refresh the whole page so that we'll see it. So let me just go through the routes of going back to groups again. All groups. Then let's come to editorial group. Then members. I still have only one member there. This guy. Okay. Let me add sales to. Okay, let me make it City Lekki. Someone gave that suggestion. Okay, let me make it City Lekki. Let me go back to users. That's a nice one. That's a nice one. Let me go to users. Since I have two options there. So if the department did not catch, so the city is going to catch it. Okay. I'm happy that we are really following the class. So I'm happy. So at least we are troubleshooting. So let me come to job information. Then so let me say city. So let me give it city. City should be Lekki. Okay, save. So I believe it will show now because I just remember the rule I created. So the rule was actually it has two. So let me go back there. It's even a good one that we actually followed up and we are really in the class. So if we come here now, let's come to properties. So from properties now, I want to edit the query. Let's come down, dynamic membership. So the query I specified was and. I didn't use or. That means if the user is in sales or the user city is Lekki, the person should be added to this group. So that was the issue we're having. So because I specified and I used the and parameter, I used the or parameter. That means if the user is in sales or the user is in Lekki, it should go. So let's check now if the person is going to be automatically added to that group. I believe it will be there. So we can see now that Ife Oluwa Akinfewa is automatically in this group. So now we have created two, we have two security group. One of the security group is the membership type is assigned. Why? The second security group, the membership type is dynamic user. So let's create a Microsoft 365 group. So let's come back to all groups. Then from all groups here, the same thing, we'll just click on new group. Then we'll now select the group, Microsoft 365 group. So we can see that the settings are now different for Microsoft 365 group and security group. So for Microsoft 365 group, let's give the group a name. Could we suggest the name of the group? Could we? And can somebody just drop a name of the group? So the first person, let's just see the name we're going to give the group. The first person, can you just drop the name on the chat? Can you just drop a name? So Aduchi, okay. Let me Aduchi. I'll just give the group Aduchi Avengers. Aduchi Avengers. Okay. So we have given our group a name. So like I was mentioning earlier that you could send an email to a group and members of the group automatically receives the email. So this is a group email. Let's take for instance now, you want to send an email to this group. All you just need to do is to just type Aduchi Avengers at the domain name.com. Then it automatically send an email to that group. So the group description now, let's say this group is for Avengers because that's the best description I can think of for now. Avengers. These are strong people, fighters. So you could also choose to assign Microsoft Entra role to the group, but let's just leave that. Then membership type also, you could make it assigned or dynamic. So, but let's just leave it to be assigned. So now for security label, I don't want to specify any security label, but from the backend, the way I configured it, it's you have to select this particular label when you are creating a group. So, but that's not for today. Maybe later we are going to share a video on how we could do that, or in the compliance and security training, they are going to talk about that one. So let's just add an owner to this group. So who am I going to make an owner now? So let me make Babatunde Bello the owner of this group. So in a production environment, you don't just make people owner. You make people owner by request. Maybe the management will say, okay, make this person an owner. But because we are just doing a training and we're just testing, that's why I can just use my own discretion and say, okay, this person should be an owner. So let me just select. So for members now, let me choose a member that I want to be in this group. Okay, someone is asking a question. What's the difference between assigned and dynamic group? Don't worry, we'll come to question and answer. So we'll answer your question that time. Good one. So let me do Ucheche. Ucheche should be a member of that group. Then let me make Mike also a member of that group. Let me select. So then create. So we have successfully created Microsoft 365 group and security group. So now we created two security group, and one of the security group was assigned membership while the other one was dynamic. And we created a Microsoft 365 group. So at least we are done with group creation and we have two types of groups. So can someone just drop on the chat the two types of groups that we have, or the two types of group that can be created in Microsoft Entra Admin Center? Fastest finger. The two types of groups that can be created in Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Just the two type of groups that you can create there. So let me see if we are all following. Somebody said dynamic and security. No, dynamic is not a type of a group, but although it's not a type of a group. So security, yes, let's go. Let's go. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it coming. So let's try. Once I get up to 50% of the class, drop in a comment, then we'll continue. So just type something. Even if you are joining with your phone, try and type something. Even if you have typographical error, it's fine. It's fine. Just say something. So we could just register your name here and know that at least you dropped a comment during our class. Okay, that's good. That's good. Nice one, nice one. It shows we are really following the class. And I'm really happy with the turn up. I'm really happy with the turn up. I'm really happy with the turn up. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. So we could just stop. We could just stop. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me go back to the slide. Since we are done talking about group, let me continue in the next student. Let me continue. So now we'll be talking about role in Microsoft Entra ID. So what a role is now is a role define what you can do. If we look at this picture here, this guy, he's smiling, he's in the classroom. So this guy, more or less, like his role here now, from this picture, he's a teacher. He's a teacher in this picture. So in this school now, that is his role, he's a teacher. That's the same way we have different roles in Microsoft Entra ID. Let me use a school setting as an example. In a school, we have a principal, we have vice principal, we have form master. This guy now here is a form master. So he's the one managing these students. So also we have different rules, just like the way the school is in Microsoft. So this guy now, as a form master, there are things he can do, there are things he cannot do. As a form master, he doesn't have the right to expel a student because he's just a form master. So he can't just expel a student out of the school. But the principal have the right to expel a student if he chooses to. If this teacher now decides to suspend the student, the principal can say no, that student will not go. He has to stay. So that's where we have privilege. There are privileges that a role can do, and there are privileges that a role cannot do. So in Microsoft now, let me use Microsoft setting as an example. This guy now is the form master in his school. So he can only man is the form master of a class. He can manage that class. He can't go outside that class. But the principal can manage both all the classes and also manage all the staffs because he's the one in charge of the administration in a school setting. So in Microsoft Entra roles now, we have different roles, such as we have the global admin role, we have security admin, we have exchange admin, and we have teams admin. So let's use teams admin, exchange admin, and security admin to be different classes in a school. So in different classes, we have SS1, SS2, SS3. So SS1 now is exchange, SS2 is teams, SS3 is security, meaning that those particular teachers now, they have that rule that they are the class masters of SS3, and what they are managing there is teams. SS3 teacher is managing teams. So the same thing applies with Microsoft Entra ID. In an organization, we have rules because one person cannot be doing everything. Like in foreign countries, if you are employed in an organization, you could only be managing just exchange online. You are not doing any other thing. That's just exactly the way this guy is. He's just managing his class. He's not doing any other thing. So if you are managing only exchange online, what it means is that you could manage everything relating to exchange online. That's what you can do. You can't go outside exchange online. If you have any issues relating to security, the security team will have to do it because that's their role. That's what they are paid to do. So the same thing applies in Microsoft Entra ID. It comes with a lot of rules that defines what you can do. When I was creating Adeleke as a user, so there was a part where they say specify a rule. If Adeleke now was employed as, let's say, a sysadmin, automatically I'm supposed to give Adeleke a role that will enable him to work or function as a system admin. So that's just what a role is. So let's go further. Let's see some of those roles. So in Entra ID now, we have different roles such as application administrator, application developer, attack payload author, attack simulation administrator, authentication administrator, and different administrative roles. So all these rules now defines what a user can do. It defines what a user can do in an organization. Just like a teacher now that is managing a class. You have, if you are a class teacher of SS1, you don't have the right to go to SS2 and go and be talking and go and be managing the student there, except if the class master gives you that right to do that. So it works the same way. In an organized setting, if you are given a role, you can't go outside your role. That's just it. You can't go outside your role and perform any task that is not within your scope. So now we have Azure AD role type. So we have roles type, we have built-in roles, and we have custom roles. So for built-in roles, these roles cannot be modified. Like all these roles we have here, application administrator, application developer, authentication administrator, they are all built-in roles that Microsoft has designed for you. So if you want to create a custom role, let's say for instance now you have some scenarios whereby you just don't want to make someone to be able to have access to a very big role. So maybe because maybe you don't trust the person, you don't want to just give this person like a global admin role now. You can just create a role of your own that, okay, this person should be able to just delete user. This person should be, or you could say this person should not be able to delete user. Because if you allow the person to be able to delete user, you don't know, maybe one day the person can just go and delete somebody. You can just say, okay, this person should only have the right to modify a user properties, but it shouldn't be able to do any other thing aside modification of user properties. And the person should be able to maybe create password or let's say reset password for a user, but aside that, it shouldn't be able to do any other thing. So that's for custom role. So let's pop into the admin center so that we'll look at this role type, both built-in and custom role. So let's just go back to our lab. So we could see it again. So here now, we are done with groups. Now where we are actually going to now is roles. So now, if we come down to protection, we'll see different settings, but we're not actually looking at protection actually. So let's come to identity and governance, but we'll look at all that. So let's go to show more. I'm looking for administrators and roles. Oh, not here. Permission management. Okay, let me just search it. Roles. So just like we have in our screen in the slide I just shared earlier. So you could see all roles you have here. So roles and admin was here. So I would like us to even look at it together so we could see how we could assess it. So let me refresh the page again. So we'll load it. So show more. So under roles and admin now, if you select roles and admin, you will see all the roles. So if you click on all the roles now, if you scroll down slowly, you will see the different kind of roles that we have. So let me click on this application administrator role now. So let it load. So just one person have access to this role. So let me click on the description. So in the description is what summarizes what the role can do. So if we come here now and we look at the role permissions, so this person now could read and configure Azure Service Health. This person could create and manage Azure support tickets, can manage admin consent. So these are what anybody that you give this role, this is what the person can do. But there could be a situation where you want the person to be able to do only read and configure Azure Service Health, create and manage Azure support, and manage admin consent alone. That's where custom role comes in. If you don't want the person to have all this permission to be able to do all these things, you want the person to just be able to do only few things from the description here. That's where it comes in. So let's go back. Let's see other roles. So if we scroll down now, we're going to see other rules such as I want us to look for let's click on billing administrator. So if you are not sure what a role can do, so from the description, you could see what the role can do. So this role now is basically to manage purchase, manage subscriptions, manage support tickets, and monitor service health. That's the function of this role. That's what this role can do. So if you scroll down now, you will see other role permissions under it. So someone that is a billing administrator, the person can create and manage Microsoft 365 service requests also. The person can read basic properties on administrative units. So those are the things that the person can do as a billing administrator. So if you come to role setting now, you will see some settings of the role. So you could edit if you want, if need be, maybe there is a demand from your manager to make any changes to the role, you could edit the settings. So, but let's just leave that. So if we come back to all rows now, like I made mention earlier, we have built-in rows and custom rows. So the built-in rows now, all these are built-in rows. They were created for you. You didn't create them. You didn't create them. You didn't create them actually. So you didn't create them. So you didn't create them. So they were created for you by Microsoft. So now if we click on new custom row now, so we could see two options whereby we could create a custom row. Either you clone from existing row, which I don't have any row that I've cloned. So if you do start from scratch now, you could just give it a name. Let's just say M365 row. Let's see. Let's say M365 row group. So now we'll go next. So if we go next now, we'll now see different permissions. So if I want this person to be able to create application policies, I will check it. If I want this person to be able to do Microsoft directory, my application, then I will do it. Then if I want this person to be able to, let's say, read all application properties, I will do it. So this one now is kind of like you have to take your time to select what you need the person to be to the actions you need the person to be able to perform in the tenant. So now from here now we can see this person can update classification properties on Microsoft 365 group. So you could select it. So you could make any rule that you want. You could select any role that you want or permission that you want this guy to be able to perform. So this is a custom role. So if I click on next now, so these are the permissions, just like the way we have when I opened billing administrator, we saw different permissions, but those permissions were created by Microsoft. You didn't create them. So, but this one now, you are creating it yourself. That's why it is called custom. So custom is something that you create to like meet a particular scenario in your organization. So some organization will say, I just only want the user to be able to reset password. I don't want the user to be able to do anything for security reasons. They don't want the user to reset password and do other things, just one thing. So those are custom and uh, and let's say built-in roles. So let me create. So now I've created my role. So M365 role group. Let me refresh this page. Let me see if it will show up. Let me search for it. M365. Oh, it's there. It's there. I don't know what's happening. Okay, let me refresh the page. So let's search for it again. M365. Why is my screen shaking? Okay, let me just select it. So I've not assigned this role to anybody. So this role now, if I come to the description, I'm going to see the descriptions of all the role permissions that this role can perform. So now, if I want to actually edit it, I could edit it and add more role permission. Let's say in the future now, I want to add more permissions to the custom role. I can also edit it and add more permission. So I want us to assign this role now to a user. So to assign a role to a user, I want us to go afresh so that we'll come back and just see the way we can assign a role to a user. So we'll just come down, show all, roles and admin, then roles and admin. We select all roles. So I don't want to just give any user any role. So that was why I created that custom role. So let me search for the role again. M365. So I'll just select it. Okay. So let me click on assignment. So now I'm adding an assignment to this. So adding an assignment, like let's select. So now adding an assignment is more or less like you want to add membership to a role. So now we have the role. So the role is M365 role group. So this is the custom group I just created. So for scope now, scope is more or less like where you are assigning this group to. So the scope now is you could select application, you could apply the role to an application, you could apply the role to a group, you could apply the role to a security principal, you could apply the role to a user. But in this case, I want to apply the role to the general directory. So let me select directory. So now I'll just search for the members I want to add. So I would like to add Adeleke as a member of this group. They say at least one item must be selected. So let me search for Adeleke. Adeleke. So I'll just make Adeleke now a member of this group. I will now select. So I'll just go down. Adeleke is a member of the group. I'll just go next. Then now we have options here. We have assignment type, eligible, active, maximum allowable duration period. So if I click on eligible, that's where privilege identity management comes from. So let me say active for now, so that it will just be active. Then when we talk about privilege identity management, then I will now talk about eligibility, and now we can do privilege identity management and how it applies to Microsoft Entra ID. So let's see. So let's just assign this guy to the role. Assign. So let me search, let me see. So it's loading. So let me check. Let me refresh. So it's already here. So if this row now is just a custom row, it's a custom row. So automatically, let me increase the size screen of my system again. Okay. So this guy now automatically he's actually a member of this row group. So also, if you want to add a member to a row on any other group, it's still the same thing. So all you just need to do is to select the group. Once you select the group, you could easily just add a member. So let me just add the member to application developer. So we'll see application developer, how it works. So nobody is here. Let me add assignment. Then select the member. So let me just add a DBA to it. Then select the next. Then apply. So that's it. So I've successfully added 2 people as a member. One, I added one as a member of a custom group, as a custom role that I created. While the second one, I added the person as a member of a built-in role, which is application developer. So let's go back to our slide. So we'll continue with our presentation while we move on to the next part. So this brings us to administrative units in Microsoft Entra ID. So like the definition goes here, administrative units restrict permission in a role to a portion of your organization you can define. So the way administrative units work now is used for permission. Like we can see on the screen here, you could manage administrative units from Microsoft 365 Admin Center, from Azure Portal, from PowerShell, and from Microsoft Graph API. So these are areas where you can manage it. So under this administrative units now, we have School of Business, we have School of Engineering, we have Security Team, and we have Executive Team. So best practice now in a big environment, let's say a very big production environment, if you want to assign permission now, it's easier when you assign the permission to an administrative unit, because if you give someone a global admin now, if you give someone a global admin in your tenant, what it means is that the person have rights over your tenants. Or let me not even use global admin, let me say user admin. If you give someone a user admin, a user administrator can change password, can do a lot of things. So what it means is that the person can change password of all members of your organization. But if you create an administrative unit, the person only have permission to actually change password for users in that administrative unit. So if we look at permissions now, let's look at this one. If a user is granted the role to be a user administrator, they can reset password for all users. Let's note all users, all users, all users generally, all users. That is, if the person is granted a user administrator, they can reset password for all users in the tenant. But using administrative unit, if a user is granted the role to be a user administrator in that administrative unit, they can reset password for all users in only that administrative unit. So the administrator can only reset password for users in that administrative unit. Most times, some organizations that have help desks, so what they do is that they can create an administrative unit, then give their help desk administrators a role in that administrative unit so that they can help users reset their password even without going to the admin center, which we are going to look at here. So role assignment, you can assign it to a security principal and all. So let's go back to the slide. Let's go back to our lab so we could see how we could create an administrative unit, and also not just create an administrative unit, how we could also manage users in that administrative unit. So let me go back to the lab. So here now, I'll refresh this page of the Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. So we'd see how we could create administrative units and manage users in that administrative unit. So from here now, let's go down. So if we click on show all, we have, where is this setting again? Role and admin. So under role and admin, you have roles and admin, which was the one we just covered. So if we click on roles and admin now, so where administrative unit come to play is anybody that you give a role, like application developer, or let's say any role from here. That means the person have access to do anything in your whole tenant. But if you use administrative units, we will now see the beauty of it, how you could delegate permission to an administrative unit so that the user will not be able to reset or make any changes to other users in your tenant, except users in that administrative unit. So let me click on administrative unit now. So I have one administrative unit here, which is Lagos Market. So this company is an online market that has presence in different states in Nigeria. So let me add a new administrative unit. Then I'll just give this the name of this administrative unit. Let's say Abuja Market. Let me work on the name. So the description now is this administrative unit is meant for users in Abuja office. So this administrative unit now is meant for users in Abuja office. So that's the essence. That's the essence of this administrative unit. So I'm just giving it a description so that if I have any administrator that comes in, the person will just understand what this group is used for. So now we have restrict management administrative unit. If I say yes, what it means is if I click on this amber sign, we'll see the reason. So if you mark this administrative unit for restricted management, if you don't want tenant level administrator to inherit this role. So what it means is that anybody that have a role in the tenant already, if I say yes, that means the person will inherit this role, but I don't want that. That's why I will just say no. So after defining the name and the description, I will just go next. Then I will now select a role. So these are the roles I can specify. I can have a group administrator, I can have a SharePoint administrator, I can have a Teams administrator, I can have a user administrator, but at this point, I just want us to select user administrator so that the person will be able to manage users. So I'm going to use, let me give Adeleke Abdulmajid the role. So let me add Adeleke Abdulmajid to that role. Then after adding him to a role, we are now going to see how he's going to work. this person now is a help desk admin that I just want to be handling users in Abuja market. That's where I want him to be working on. I don't want him to work on users in Lagos. So I'll just click on review and create. So this is the role again. The assignment is user administrator, and the administrator there is Adeleke Abdulmajid. Why the name of the administrative unit is Abuja Market. So let me create it. So now here I have two administrative units. I have Lagos Market and Abuja Market. So let me manage Abuja Market administrative units by clicking on it. So once I click on it, now we'll see that there are no users here. There are no users here at all. So I'll be the one to add Abuja users here by myself. I could either add them manually or do bulk operation. So if I click on add member here, so I could select people that are in Abuja. Let's say auto attendant is in Abuja, Babatunde is in Abuja, Call Q is in Abuja, Chris Green is in Abuja, Kontoso Olapo is in Abuja, Divine is in Abuja. Then who else? HR is also in Abuja. Then I'll just say select. So if I refresh now, I'll see those members show up. So let's keep refreshing. Sometimes it might take a while. So now I have all the members pop up here. All these guys now are members of the OU, meaning that these members of the administrative unit rather. So these members now, they are in this administrative unit. So this guy now that has the role here, which is, where is that role again? Password, which role did I even give? So user administrator. So if I select this user administrator now, I'll see the guy here among the user administrators here. So Abdul Majid was the person I gave user administrator. So now let us test if Abdul Majid will be able to perform his tasks by resetting password for users in that organization. So let me go to users. From all users now, let me just select Abdul Majid because I don't know his password. So I want to reset his password so that I can log in with his account so that I could see how he will be able to manage the users that I put under his control. So let me reset the password. So if you want to reset a password for a user, any user, you want to reset the password for a user in Entra ID, all you need to do is to go to users. Then from users, you click on all users. From all users, you see all your users in your organization. So, but the user I'm concerned about now is Adeleke Abdulmajid. So let me just select Adeleke Abdulmajid, then click on reset password. Then after resetting his password, so this is the temporary password now. So let me copy this temporary password because I'm going to log in with Adeleke AB now so that we could see how we could manage those users in that OU. So now, let me see if I have an account here, a profile here. So let me just use this browser to test it. So now, it is assumed that Adeleke Abdulmajid is an help desk admin in my organization. So it's assumed that he's an help desk admin in my organization, and I don't want him to have access to my Entra ID. I only want him to just manage users in that administrative unit. So Microsoft have a URL that you can use to manage your administrative units. So I want us to note this URL so that if we are doing our lab, after creating our OU and assigning an administrator to that OU, giving him the rights and adding users, so we could see how we could manage those users. So the URL is my staff.microsoft.com. So let me hit enter. Let's see where it takes us to. So let me increase the size of this page. Let's not forget this URL because it will enable us to test our administrative units. So let me sign in with Abdul Majid Adeleke AB at preciseglobal.com.ng. Let me go next. So let me put that temporary password. Sign in. So let me, because I'm signing in with this user for the first time, that's why I have to reset the password. So let me, so I'll just say yes. So I'll just cancel this survey. So now, from my staffs now at Microsoft.com, let me just maximize this page so it to be bold enough for all of us to see. So let me increase it. So from here now, we could see Abuja users. If another person sign into mystaff.microsoft.com, the person will not even be able to see any administrative units because the person doesn't have the right to see that administrative unit. So if I collapse this administrative unit now, I'm going to see the members of this administrative unit. So this guy now, Adeleke Abdulmajid, you don't need to have access to Entra ID to manage all these users. All I just need to tell him is that just go to my staffs.microsoft.com. You will see the users in your vicinity. You know Chris, you know Babatunde. So if they have any issues with their password, you could just manage them from my staffs. If I click on Babatunde now, you could reset the password. They say you don't have permission to see user's phone number. So if I click on reset password here now, it will now tell me Babatunde will be given a temporary password that must be changed in the next sign-in. I will now say continue. You see, unexpected error. Okay, trying to reset the password. So let's see. Let's go back to the other tab. So sometimes it takes time to propagate, but he has the right to actually do that. So let me go back to the administrative unit again. So we'll check it. So Abuja market. So we'll come down to roles and administrators. So let's select that role again. User administrator role. So he has the role already assigned to him. Probably, okay, permanent. So it should work. It should work. So, but sometimes it takes a while. It doesn't just work immediately. It doesn't just work immediately, but that's how we can actually manage users in an administrative unit. So that's for administrative units. So let's say, for instance, now you want him to reset password for any of these users here. So you could just reset password for any of them. Could reset password for any of them at time, as the case may be. So that is how you could use an administrative unit in Microsoft Entra ID. So let's go back to our slide. So we are almost concluding. We'll soon be done with the training for today. So now we are going to look at configure and manage custom domains. So if we look at the screen here, we have two domains. We have Microsoft hosted domain and custom domain. Like if you look at when I try to log in, most times I use preciseglobal.com.ng. preciseglobal.com.ng is my custom domain, but something.onmicrosoft.com is Microsoft hosted domain, which I'm going to show us this Microsoft hosted domain and custom domain name. And I'm going to show us how we could add a custom domain name, because some of us we are going to create our test tenant. So in creating your test tenant, you might need to want to just see how you would create a custom domain name in your environment. So let me just go to the next slide. So to create a custom domain name in Microsoft 365, these are the steps. So the first steps you need to do is to verify you have ownership of that domain. So for you to verify that you have ownership of that domain, there are some records that you need to populate in your DNS registrar where you are hosting the domain name. So first of all, you need to verify that you have administrative access to manage DNS for the domain. So if you don't have the administrative access to manage DNS for the domain, there's no way you could even do that. So 3, you will now verify that you can make changes to the DNS record. 4, you have to sign into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center after you have verified that you can make DNS record. Then you will now confirm domain ownership for the domain. Then after that, you have to change the default domain to view the new domain. So we are going to see how we could do all this today. So now, even from the picture here, this is your DNS. So from your DNS, you add you add the TST record. Once you add the TST record and it gets verified in Microsoft Entra Admin Center, you see a checkbox telling you that the domain name has been registered. Then if you has been verified successfully, then another record again you could add is your MS record. So we are going to see what all these records could do. So here now, after Microsoft 365 Setup Wizard has verified your organization, the administrator should require DNS record for custom domain zones. So for custom domain zones now, our major concern here now, let's look at those records. So for TST record, let's just be focused on what these records are and what they can do. So TST records verifies domain ownership. CNAME records apply to customers in China. So this is for Microsoft 365 core services. So for Exchange Online now, these are records that are very important. You have CNAME record. This allow clients to connect to Exchange services. So Auto Discover, one of the Exchange services we have is Outlook app. So if your Auto Discover record is not populated, if users want to connect to Outlook app, they may have some difficulties connecting to it. While MS record tell other mail system where to send email for the company domain. So if you don't set up your MS record, you won't be able to receive email with your domain. Then SPF record prevent attackers from using domain to send spam. So these are records and what they can do. So for Microsoft Teams, we have SVR Federation, which enables sharing of IM features with external clients by enabling SIP Federation, which all this we're going to look at when we come into Microsoft Teams, talk about Microsoft Teams. We have CNAME record, requires support protection in Skype. So, but let's just focus on the CNAME, the MX, and the SPF record, which we are going to look at. So first of all, the first thing you do if you want to create a custom domain name is to add the domain in the tenant. Then the next thing is you update the DNS record in your DNS registrar. Then you use the domain. So let's look at how a custom domain looks like. So here now, like I made mention before that we have something.onmicrosoft.com. That is Microsoft domain. While the custom domain name won't be like this, to be at yourdomain.com. So if we go next now, we'll see how we can verify those records. So this is the TST record, but this is a custom domain name, which is www.winsmart.com. But the details is covered because for security purpose. So it was Lord. So let's just go. So now, in this module now, first of all, we looked at groups in Microsoft Entra, roles in Entra ID, roles assignments, administrative unit, and custom domain. So let's just look at custom domain, then we'll end the section for today. So let me just hook to my lab. So I'll just show us a custom domain so that we'll go to question and answer, then we'll close the section for today. Or I will just touch maybe, let's see if there's time, I can touch privilege identity management. So let me just go back to, so let me minimize this guy. So let me close this guy. So let me refresh this page, which is Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. So today, we are basically talking about Microsoft Entra ID. So let me log in with this guy. So now, For us to manage our custom domain now, first of all, if you sign into Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center, you will see users, groups, devices, applications, protection, but I want us to go to show more so that we'll see other settings. So from show more now, adding a domain name actually is a setting. So you have to go to settings to add a domain name. So once we go to settings, we'll see domain names here. If we click on domain names here now, so I have domain names registered on my end. So me now I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 .all Microsoft account and 1 custom domain name, which is preciseglobal.com.ng. So this .all Microsoft account now is Microsoft domain. So let's take Paraventure now. I just bought a new company. I bought a new domain name and I want to add it. So first of all, I need to be able to log into the DNS registrar, which all I just need to do is to click on add a custom domain name. Once I click on add, let me say the custom domain name is www.m365mentors.com or .m365mentor.za. So your custom domain name could be .za, .anything, .edu, .com, but I just want us to use this one. So we'll just click on add domain. So once you click on add domain, just like we have in that picture, so we have 2 record types that you need to add to your DNS registrar. Now, if we even read the notification here, it said to use www.m365mentor.za with your Microsoft Entra tenant, create a new TST record with your domain name registrar using the info below. So this domain name registrar, let's not think too far. If you want to buy a domain name, where you bought your domain name, that's your domain registrar. If you bought your domain name from GoDaddy, that's your domain registrar. If you bought your domain name from Domain King, that's your domain registrar. If you bought your domain name from Microsoft Azure, Azure is your domain registrar. So all you just need to do is to go there, copy all these records and populate them there. Once you populate them there, automatically if you click on verify, it will verify. But this domain name is not actually existing. I didn't buy it. So even if I click on verify now, it will fail because I've not populated the record. So, but if you have populated the record properly, it will go, it will succeed. So I'll just delete it. So if you have a custom domain name, that is how you could create a custom domain name in your environment. So unable to ensure you have added the registrar. So don't mind them. They don't want me to delete it, but I don't have the domain name. So this is my custom domain name here. It is verified. Then I have other domain names here in my tenant. So that's it. So I don't know. Maybe we should go to question and answer so that we could close on time for today. Hello, Rafiah, are you there? Do we have any questions on the chat? Okay.
Hi, Emmanuel.
Yeah. Hi, Joseph.
Yeah, I'm sure that everyone is applauding you. You did a very nice job so far. Thank you on behalf of everyone on the call. The information you have shared is a lot, but I will encourage everyone today that being confused is part of the learning process. So towards the end, Emmanuel has made mention of custom domain. Yes, you have heard it. When treating exchange, this is also still going to come up, and the exchange trainer is going to dive right deep into it. So you would hear more about this and have opportunity to learn more. And if it is your second time hearing it, you will not be confused anymore. So we have questions in the chat, right? So we have questions in the chat that we'll be looking into. But just before we take those questions, and if you have more questions, please, you can also drop them. I would just want to mention or buttress on two things that Emmanuel has taken his time to demystify, and that is about the administrative units and the dynamic groups. So administrative units is most time used in multinational organization where you have branches across the world. So you have IT guys that are called local IT administrators, and then you have the global team. So usually the global team will have access to the Entra admin center of the entire tenant. What that means is that .com.ng for the Nigerian office, .co.za, like you mentioned in one of the domain for South Africa, .com.nl for Netherlands and all of that. Now, at the end of the day, so that Nigerian administrators will be able to manage just the Nigerian users in terms of changing their passwords, in terms of the rules were mentioned, there were fewer than the entire rules in your Entra admin center, so that Nigerian user don't go and change password of a user in Ghana. So all that you can just do is within your own local team. But the global team can decide to go to Ghana, change property of a user, go to Netherlands, change the properties of a user, and then come to the UK and change the property of a user in that tenant. But if you are a local administrator and you are in Nigeria and you are assigned an AU for Nigeria, so the AU will be Nigeria, and then the rules will be given to people that are employed who are working as IT, administrators in Nigeria to administer those roles in the Nigerian market. Then for the administrators in Ghana, so they have to now go to my staff, to see the list of the users within their environment. And Emmanuel showed us a very striking point in the Entra Admin Center where if you want people to be able to see the entire settings and list of users in your Entra, people who do not have admin role, they should be able to see them or restrict them from seeing that. So you can have administrators and they will not have access to admin center, admin.microsoft.com, but they will be able to manage users using administrative units. So in the example in the Microsoft document I shared, in the group, it's about a university that has School of Science, School of Business, and maybe School of Physical something. So the administrators that are managing School of Engineering should not be able to see the list of the users in physical science to be able to change their password. So segmenting admin rule based on what really concerns you is what we call administrative units, AU, because OU was mentioned yesterday, organizational unit, and it was mentioned that it is the way your organization is structured. So that even till today, we still get a bit confused when we're talking about AU, OU. Where is AU and where do we talk about OU? OU is the of the on-premises, talking about the structure of your environment. Keep that aside. Then the administrative units, see it as buckets that are put in places, and then you are restricted by your admin rule based on the bucket that you have access to. So that is what I'm trying to paint. So we will have the link from Microsoft on the chart, and then we'll also have a link to one of the recorded videos talking about just administrative units, deeply. So the second point that Emmanuel has again done justice to today is the dynamic group. So if you are not taking anything away, you must hold that very tight. So this dynamic group is very, very important because you don't manually add people to those groups. So how does it work? For example, you created a dynamic group and you call them support engineer level 1, or you call it level 1 support. You have level 2 support, level 3 support. So when you create this user, then there are roles or there are duties, as the case may be, the characteristics that will speak to that particular, duty that they carry out. You call them level 1, level 2, level 3, right? Now, when somebody comes in and is in level 1, as soon as you create the user and you call it level 1, now you can create that group. It is existing. So when somebody comes and you put him level 1 support, the person goes into that bucket for level 1. Then if another guy comes and is in level 2, as soon as you are giving him level 2, the guy falls into the other bucket for level 2 support engineers. And the good thing is that you can even use that group to create a team, right? When you create a team, what that means is that as new guys coming into the organization, you don't need to go and manually add that guy to a team. I have an experience where there was a document management system in an organization where everybody in the organization needs to have access to. But because the group that was created is a user assigned group, then whoever creates that user will still need to manually add the user to that team before the user can have access to the organization documents. But how that would have worked better, because sometimes the admin now forgets and the user will have to now request. That is when there is a need, right? So, but if you create a dynamic group in that way, say for support engineer level 1, and you now use that group to create a team. So when people resume and you just create and say support engineer level 1, the person goes into that bucket as a group and the group replicates in Teams. So in Microsoft Teams, the person will just come in and start chatting. You can say, welcome to our team, like that. Nobody is there to add that person. The person is entering based on the query that was given. Now, by next 2 years or next year, as the case may be, when the person changes department, changes level to now level 2 support engineer, you don't need to go to you cannot even have the option to remove the person from the team. But as soon as you go there and change the person to level 2, the person will leave the group dynamically to level 2 group without you doing anything. So let us say, for example, the person become level 3 after some points. If you change the level 3 to, the person will just go into level 3 bucket. That is how it goes. Now when you are creating those conditions, you could see what was done. You have city as a parameter, you have country as a parameter, you have department as parameter. You can say and or. If this user is in this department and in this unit, the person should become a member of this. I must tell you something here. When you go to your practice, you can actually test before you submit. So, like what happened that time when the user was in sales and condition was given to it that it should be in Lekki as a city. Before you even leave that admin center, you could run a check and call a user, the user that we are going to use. If the user will have access, you will see checked green. If the user will not have access, you will equally no. So dynamic group is very important. Then administrative units is very, very important key point that you should take away today. And Emmanuel has also shown you how to add, how to create a user assigned group. He spoke about security group. When you were in M365 admin center, we showed you how to create groups, some groups on there. Then when you come to Entra, you are still creating group. When you get to Exchange as well, you will also create group. So I will encourage you to take it as it is coming. Whatever that confuses you today, just take it that you have heard it from somebody, but you don't even know the meaning. As we go along, these things will find a way to reconnect themselves. And if you follow through, you can only become thoroughly furnished at the end of this mentorship program. And you will not get confused at the end of it. But it's allowed for you to get confused now. The documents that we have shared on the group are detailed documents and sometimes can require a lot of time for you to read through them. But trust me, the documents carries everything that the trainer was able to give out today. Before the assignments start rolling out, if I were you, I would go and sit down with those documents, make sense of them, summarize them for my own to my own understanding. And if I get confused, of course, you can reach out to us. We would schedule responses. Even if your question comes and we are busy, we can hold on, but definitely we'll give you response to what you are looking for. So feel free, reach out on WhatsApp. If WhatsApp is not, I know somebody here who copied the same message to WhatsApp and then to my LinkedIn, and yeah, I responded to to the person from one platform, and just like that. So you can use double options to reach people. The whole of I mean, the essence of the whole journey is just so we become better people when we get to the end of this journey. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. I must speak the mind of many people that what you did today. There are some other groups that I am, the conversations going on those groups. If you see them, you will actually applaud yourself as well. So thank you very much. So it is time for us to go through the question. I don't know if Rafa is now here to continue, because I noticed she was a bit away from her microphone. And I'll count
Yeah, thank
zero,
you.
one. Okay, she's here.
Rafiah. Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Joseph, for that beautiful conclusion. Thank you all so much for staying. We're getting your feedback, positive feedbacks, amazing feedbacks. We're glad that you're learning. Emmanuel, that was a wonderful one. Thank you so, so much. Yeah, thank you for that wonderful presentation. The question I have here is someone is asking, why do we need a custom domain name?
Okay, where's my
The
okay?
next class
Oh,
was given. Yeah, sure.
okay,
Sorry.
okay. So for a custom domain name now, like let's say for instance now, you want to be able to, let me explain it in an organization perspective. Maybe you are sending an email now to an organization and you are using at gmail.com. Let me use that at gmail.com. Automatically, the company you are sending the email to may look at it as maybe this company are not prepared. But if the name of your company is, let's say, let me use Dangote now. Maybe the name of your company is Dangote, and you send your email as, let's say, consultants as dangote.com. So custom domain name gives you that features of sending like business class emails. So with custom domain name, you could send business class emails to your clients. So it enables you to do that and to manage your users. Like Joseph made mention of that. Maybe you are having users in different countries. Maybe like users in Nigeria now could be preciseglobal.com.ng. Those in Ghana could be preciseglobal.com.gh. So as the case may be. So you could use it to segment your organization and your users in different countries. And also, why me I just like it is for business class emails, because you could send business class emails with your domain name, and I believe the company you are sending that email to will recognize the mail is coming from a recognized company. So that's also I see to answer that question. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, custom. Okay, I think Emmanuel answered that question. I want to believe so. And I think the next question is please hold on. I think I've gone too far. But let's see. So most of the questions have been answered. Someone is asking, what's the difference between OU and AU, organization unit and administrative unit? What's the difference?
Okay. Okay, so for OU now is used on premise. So you can relate them together. So administrative unit is used in Microsoft Entra ID to delegate permission to a section of the organization or the tenant. Why OU is the same thing, just like the way I explained yesterday, that an OU describes the structure of the organization. So that is how organization unit also describes the structure of the organization. But the core difference is we use OU to manage users on-prem, which is organizational units. Why administrative units is used in Microsoft Entra ID Admin Center. Let me give an example. Let's say you have users now in a particular OU, just like the way I created a role and assign the permission to a user in that administrative unit to be able to manage users in that administrative unit. That is how from AD on-prem, we could also delegate permission to an OU. So that we can also just give a user an administrative right so that the user will be able to manage users in that OU. So the key difference is just organizational unit is used on-prem to delegate permissions to specific administrators to manage specific users. Why administrative unit also is still do the same thing but in the cloud in Microsoft Entra ID.
Very beautiful explanation. Thank you for that. OU on-prem, AU cloud, right? Good. So the next question is saying that they would like you to help us complete the AD Connect you wanted to show us yesterday. How you
Okay.
use your AD Connect. So I think that will be in your next
YouTube
class,
channel.
right? Your YouTube
No,
channel. Okay, very
I'll
good.
post it
So
to my YouTube channel.
Emmanuel Oyimafu will be having his YouTube channel ASAP, right? So you go and check out the YouTube channel for all of that. Yes, overloaded for you. And I think you did answer most of the questions, right? What if I don't specify the usage location during the process of user creation? Does it mean the user won't be able to access the account outside Nigeria? I think this is so when you're talking about what if I don't specify the usage location during the process of user creation, that's when you're creating a user account, right? Does it mean that that user would not be able to access the account outside Nigeria? No. Emmanuel, can you please explain that? Do you understand the
Okay.
question?
I
Sure, you
understand the
do.
question. I understand
Thank
the
you.
question. So for usage location now, usage location is very important, most especially when you want to assign license to a user. So if you don't specify usage location, if you want to do license assignment, you must specify usage location. So for that question now, let's say you did not specify usage location. It means that you cannot even assign license to the user. So let's say now you specify usage location Nigeria and assign the license to the user. The user can also log in any country. Even if the usage location is Nigeria, it doesn't mean that the user cannot log in that country, except if the administrator from backend configure what we call named location to specify a particular location where people can log in and they cannot log in for security reasons. But if that is not configured in an environment, you can log in from anywhere. So that particular usage location is mainly useful. Probably after creating a user now, and I want to assign license to the user, you will see the checkbox for usage location in Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So that's for that one.
Okay, so I would like to add to that, Emmanuel. Thank you for that brilliant response. That's speaking to licensing. Also, if, for example, you want to go a bit advanced to say you want to assign phone numbers to the users for them to be able to make calls, like the regular using phone number to call from Teams. If the user does not have if the user's location does not align with the phone number you are giving to the user, then you cannot assign that phone number to user. For example, if you have a user whose location is US, for example, and you want to assign a phone number to that user, and you are assigning a +4 phone number, which is perhaps a UK phone number, you will not be able to locate that user. So usage location of a user is very important, even for data residency also, and discussions around that. So, but what I want you to take home from the second point of usage location is about phone number assignments. The usage location determines the type of the phone number you can assign to a user also.
Okay. I think Timilen wants to say something. So Timilen, you can go ahead.
Hi, well done, Emmanuel Joseph. I think you guys have said it all. Actually, I just want to add that um usage location is very important in case of compliance. So some countries they have certain restrictions in regarding their data residency, right? So, but this is more advanced though, but for knowledge sake, when it comes to maybe video recording, and some countries they don't allow their data to be outside their geographical location. So in a situation whereby maybe your usage location, I think is China, and your main country location, that is the tenant, is United States. When you try to have a scenario whereby you recorded a Teams meeting, um, your recording may likely not be saved in your organization SharePoint data, but it's more like a kind of advanced level. So the reason why I actually request, and also to point out about the numbering part when it comes to certain services, your usage location is very, very important. And also, I've actually worked on a particular situation whereby doing bulk assignments, license assignments, using PowerShell scripting. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to specify your usage location when you try to assign license. Maybe some people may actually experience this later, maybe when they are working live, maybe you might find yourself in support whereby you're having a particular issue, maybe a particular service is not working correctly. Um, this might be something you may look out for. In all cases, not is not in all cases. You need to assign usage location for licensing, especially when you are using custom scripting. I think that is what I just want to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the addition, Timileyin. Okay, so I think another question has been around buying this domain, what a custom domain is, why do we have to get a custom domain, right? So I don't know, maybe we did have a practical class where we get to buy a domain. You see why the need for having a domain name. Most times domain names, why we buy the domain names for business purposes, right? You want your emails to carry the business name. You're sending a mail and you're having maybe Mary at, your business name could be let's say Nigeria M365 community as an example would be Mary at Nigeria M365 community.com instead of having the Mary at Nigeria M365.onmicrosoft.com. So that's the difference. You have the custom domain and the dot. By default, when you buy a Microsoft 365 subscription, you have a Microsoft 365 tenant, you have that default .onmicrosoft.com. So if you don't want to use that, I have a customer that said it's too long. She just wants um Julieta at this.com. Very simple. So you don't want that long name of .onmicrosoft.com. You use your custom domain name. So we did have to stop the questions for now. For those that are yet to take the attendance form, I think I've shared the link. If you have more questions, please drop them in the WhatsApp group and the Telegram group. The recordings will be made available. The slides will be made available. You can connect with Emmanuel Oyimafu on LinkedIn. I've shared this link on the chat. You can connect with him. If you have more questions, please reach out to him. Yes, the recordings will be made available, and they are for corporate branding. Very good. Custom domains are for your corporate branding. Beautiful. So if you have more questions, please read the materials we shared, those links. There are some questions we can't really answer. If we have to answer all of these questions, we will spend another 1 hour. It's not as if we can't stay here for the next 2-3 hours. We can, but we have to consider those that will be going to either work tomorrow morning, right? Good. So thank you all so
Absolutely.
much for attending the class. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for the class. Really appreciate your wonderful presentation. So let's have a good night rest and a great week.
Mm.
Someone is asking about assignments. For assignments, yeah, we're going to share that on the WhatsApp group and Telegram group for you um, to do your assignment. That'll be shared on the WhatsApp group. So if you're yet to connect with Emmanuel Oyimafu on LinkedIn, I'll share the link again. If you're yet to fill your attendance form, I'll share the link again. So you just stay right here. Today's learning was great. Obviously, it was great. It was awesome. I enjoyed every bit of the class, and we hope you did enjoy many more to come, right? So that's Oyimafu's LinkedIn handle. Click on that link, connect with him, ask him questions as many as you can. Joseph, you can check out Joseph on LinkedIn. Check out, yeah, all your mentors. So I think that's the attendance link, and that'll be all for today. If you have any questions, please drop them on the WhatsApp and Telegram group, and we did gladly answer. The recording for yesterday's class is also ready. I think Joseph has shared that on the WhatsApp group. Today's own will be ready tomorrow. And yeah, if you're yet to do your last week assignment, make sure you do that today. Your attendance form closes by 11:59 p.m. So if you wake up tomorrow morning and you want to fill that form, it will not work. It will not accept your response. Sorry, what's the topic for today? So today's topic is a continuation of yesterday. Today and yesterday, that's Entra ID, Entra Identity, formerly Azure Active Directory, not Entrance ID. Entra, okay, Entra. Sorry. Yes, so that's it. Yeah, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank God network didn't throw you out. Okay, Emmanuel. Yeah, everyone is so happy. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. So connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn, drop your questions on WhatsApp, drop your questions on Telegram. What other thing? Your assignment will be shared with you before the end of the week. Make sure you've done your previous assignment. Have a great week. Make sure you also go through the recordings and all the resources shared, all those links. Please go through them. We're going to have practical classes on how to buy your custom domain. Yeah, that will be taking full time in the exchange class. I've dropped the scheme of work for exchange. Check that out on the WhatsApp group. I'll share that too on the Telegram group. Do have a good night rest, everyone. Bye for now.